It is about 8 in the morning on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Weather's about, 70 something degrees, perfect humidity. Once again, we got haze and fog and clouds. A very low chance of any rain. And if we do get rain, it's probably just going to be a drizzle. It's one of those drizzly autumn days. So, chickens have their food. I'm going to feed them 25 in the morning, half of 25 pounds in the evening, because they can't eat quite 50. 50 is too much for them. I had to refill the water this morning. I have to refill it every day. They like to drink out of one of the waters and not the others. Anyway, I caught the chickens. They were following the geese. The geese ran to the other side of the pen, and then the chickens all followed them, and then they ran back, and the chickens all followed them. So I think what's happened is, well, I haven't lost any more to hawks. It's been about 2 days with no losses. And hopefully what's happening is the geese are protecting the chickens, and the chickens are actually accepting that help. That last one that was injured in the wing, the hawk or whatever pulled his wing off. Chicken was still alive. I had to kill it. But I think that what might have happened was that hawk was scared off successfully after the initial attack. And so maybe the hawk has moved on to other hunting grounds or just avoided having a confrontation here. So, yeah, I keep telling myself to set up netting and haven't done that quite yet. Oh well, decoys are like 15 bucks on Amazon.com. I was gonna get an owl, maybe one of the ones that the head moves, and then get a crow. Put the crow on the ground and an owl up high. Move the owl around, and then put up some netting. I keep forgetting to bring the netting too, so if I lose a chicken, it's all my fault. Right, Mr. Chicken? These guys are getting quite big. I keep saying another couple weeks, but you know, one of these days it will be true. 2 more weeks, right? 2 more weeks. So they're not quite growing as fast as I wanted, at least in my mind. But we are in the first week of November, and I was planning the 3rd week of November. Come here. Come here. I got to set these guys up some roosts so they don't have to put their bellies on the ground. That's a strange sound. Are you okay there, Mr. Chicken? I might actually keep some of these guys alive to get some more roosters if I can find out which ones are roosters. I think this might be a rooster. Are you a rooster? Because there's some that have like the comb on the top of the head is quite pronounced. Others it's very mellow. So I might keep a couple of these guys on as roosters for next year. I don't know how many batches I'll do next year, but probably do a couple more batches of 100 until I perfected the art. Right? This guy's quite warm. Even his feet are warm. You're making the strangest sounds. You're making the strangest sounds. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really pleased. So far, I mean, it could have been a lot better, but it could have been a lot worse too. The first batch of 100 I did in the heat. All but 8 died of the heat. So I only got about 8 birds at the end. And I split them with my brother who, you know, he was an initial investor in the whole endeavor. This half I'm going to give to my brother as well. Provided he comes down and helps harvest them, because I don't have anybody that'll harvest them for me. So, you know, 100 won't be that bad, right? You just put your nose down and get to work. Right, Mr. Geese? Right, Mr. Chicken? I'll let you down now. Ready? There you go. Somebody asked what breed of birds these were. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Do you know how to be quiet? Stop talking! These are Freedom Ranger color yields, and the black ones are rustic ramblers. The color yields are broilers, and the black ones are layers. So I hope to get a lot of eggs to lay. I hope to get more eggs than we can possibly eat as a family. We love the eggs, the free range eggs that we have now. So, and I love chickens. I think they're a great animal. They are kind of difficult to keep alive, but especially I think I would recommend chickens for new farmers. Number one, they're cheap, right? I paid about $1.50 for each of these guys, plus about $40 in shipping, so that ends up like $200 for the animals. Number two, the feed is simple. It's not that expensive. Even with elevated feed prices, it's not too bad. Yes, I'm spending more on feed than the chickens, which I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be or not, but that's just the way it is. The other parts about, running animals, like learning about fencing and protection and all that kind of stuff, and weather and all that kind of stuff, that's a learning curve. That's something you just have to do. And chickens also have a reason. You have a reason to get out here every day to feed them. And that's something that motivates me to get up in the morning and get moving, knowing that there's animals that depend on me. I don't know what it's like for women, but I think for men, there's this instinct we have where we have to take care of something. And I got fairly successful in my software career, and I got super depressed because I realized at some point that my family didn't need me anymore financially, that if I would die, they'd be set for life. There'd be my kids would want for nothing, and my wife would lack nothing, and so in a way I was feeling kind of useless. Like, what can I do? Make more money, and being a dad of teenagers, the teenagers don't seem to appreciate doing fatherly things with them, right? It's pretty depressing, actually. But the animals always appreciate me. They like me. Well, I don't know if they like me, but they pretend to like me, at least because I feed them. And this is something that can keep my mind occupied and off of depressing thoughts. So that's one of the things that I think is really great about farming is you're needed. You're actually needed. And yeah, it's not easy to take vacation, but I never really took vacation. Never really enjoyed vacation anyway. I was the kind of guy that, just staying at home with my family was a vacation enough for me. My wife likes to travel, and then we go travel for a few weeks, and she's like, I want to go home, So we go home, Anyway, I think chickens are great. It's a great way to start. Lots of places you can do it in your backyard. And I'm not going to advocate for illegal behavior, but check your laws. And even if your laws aren't amenable to chickens, like if you live in the city limits and you have a little bit of a yard and they say you're not allowed to have chickens, if you're doing chickens and you don't have a rooster, like, what are people going to do about it? Like, who's going to stop you? Like, is there a neighbor in the world that's going to say, oh, they're raising chickens over there? If you're not being a nuisance to your neighbors, what can they possibly say? So, especially if it's just 2 or 3 chickens, right? What can they possibly say? And you can always treat them like pets, And what's the punishment for, like, raising chickens in your backyard, I'd say go for it. Take the risk, It's a good way to get started. And I know there's a lot of stigma in our culture about killing and eating animals. And it's not well deserved. This is a totally natural act. It's something I think everybody should do is you shouldn't eat animals unless you killed it yourself. That's what's the right way to put it. I think it's less noble to go to the store and buy meat. Because you don't know where that meat came from. You don't know the animal and how it was cared for. But if you raise the animal yourself and you slaughter it yourself, that's an entirely different feeling. And when you eat that meat, you're much more grateful for it, The other thing too is like what we call a chicken. I don't know how to explain this properly. When the animal dies, something leaves, right? There's something that's subtracted from that equation. And what's left is a carcass. And so the thing that you love, the chicken that you love, is not the body. There's a spirit or some soul inside of that chicken. And that's the thing that you love and care about. And that's the thing you want to give as best a life as possible to. And then you want to harvest or, slaughter in as humane way as possible, And to me, like the meat, I'm grateful for these little, spirits or intelligences or whatever that run this animal and keep it working and help it to grow strong and healthy, and then they serve their time and that's it. They did their purpose. And, I'm extremely happy that the universe works that way, So when you go to eat the animal, it doesn't feel like you're eating a thing that's alive, You're eating the flesh of the thing that was alive, a part of the body, not the body itself. You know, which I think is kind of different than what, you know, pagans or different people, you know, they think you're eating the spirit of the animal by eating it. No, you're not. That spirit leaves. So anyway, I think chickens are fun too. They're just fun animals to be around. Right? Right? And I think all this nonsense about bird disease and stuff like that, I think it's just nonsense. It's just fear-mongering to try to get people to not raise their own animals and find out how easy it is. You know, I think every family should have animals that they raise and slaughter. I think every family should raise a cow. Every family should raise pigs. Well, pigs are kind of dirty, but, you know, you get what I'm saying. Sheep are great. Sheep are fun. They're like little dogs. Little kind, naive dogs, you know. All right, I'm going to sign off here. That's the chicken feeding for the day. You can see that after a while, they just stop eating and they leave. They fill up their crop there. And so it gives a chance for the other chickens to eat. And what I do is I come back later and I see how much feed is left on the ground. And that tells me if I fed too much or too little. You know. Because if they're leaving a lot on the ground, that means that there's too much food for them to eat at one time. So anyway, get big chickens, grow healthy, have fun, enjoy this world. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.